Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. We're pulling our July TBR picks. Every month I say it, how are we already in July? We had a super successful reading month in June in terms of the books that we picked up. So we did complete the TBR. I read all 6 books on my physical TBR that we picked for YouTube, and I also read the additional 6 that I picked on Instagram and TikTok. So that was wonderful. It feels so successful completing a TBR. I don't know, it's just so satisfying, and it really made me want to read more. Now, I did add some more books to my TBR because I read City of Bones by Cassandra Clare and I loved it, and I did go and buy the box set for that and the Infernal Devices. So I went and bought all the books for that so I can continue reading the series. So that's already on my shelf because my shelves are getting full, guys. Like these gaps here, that's kind of all the space we have left. I'm gonna have to start like double stacking and like nothing on display basically because it's already filling up. We have some new books added to the TBR. It's now double-sided again. So we've had a lot of new additions, some new arcs, some fun book mail, and I'm excited. I have some books in mind that I want to read and I want to pick. For example, Shield of Sparrows. I think this is going to be our book club book for the month of July. If you're not in my book club, I host a free book club. It's on Fable. I have a link to it in the description all the time. The book club is called What We're Reading, and once a month we will pick a new like fantasy romance, fantasy book to read. I think this is the top contender for what we're going to read. Poppy War was close second from what I've seen so far. When we've tried to suggest the Poppy War and have that as an option many times now, we will read the Poppy War eventually. We will get to it, but I think this is the book we're going to be reading in the month of July. Now, there are some new releases coming out, but honestly, so many books that I was looking forward to reading this year have been pushed back to the end of the year. So Lady of Starfire is coming out in August still, but the Legacy book 4 is coming out in November now instead of August. I think it was supposed to come out the same day as the Lady of Darkness series conclusion here in the UK. I know they had cover issues where the cover designer disappeared, so that like pushed back the date for that. The Primal of Blood and Bone was supposed to come out in June. That's been pushed back. The 4th book in the Gods and Monsters series has been pushed back from August. And we also had Echo Fort that was supposed to come out in April but just came out in June, so I haven't read that. I would like to read that. We do have Rose and Chains as well, that is coming out in July, and that is going to be like an in-person book club book that I need to read this month as well. I'm going away with some book girlies to like a little summer lake house for a few days, and we've all picked that as the book that we're going to read and then talk about in person. And then I do have some arcs here of some books that are coming out in July, or I just have one. I think, is it just that one? I thought it was a bit more. I've just got one here. Oh no, 2. Terror at the Gates as well. So there are some books that I do want to pick up. I'm also going to Rare London. I'm not going to have really much time to read any books before then. I might have to read them in like the first 4 days of the month. So there's some authors and books that I might pick up if I want to read them, or I've got their physical books and I haven't read them yet for that. But June was a very busy month for me, but just like normal reading month, so it would be good if we can aim to read all the books on our TBR again and get through them because we've had new additions. So we have the TBR jar here. It is getting quite low, so I'm probably gonna have to fill up some more prompts in it, but we're just gonna pull 6 prompts like usual. So first prompt here, if I can open it. Ooh, we have a Fairy Loot book. So I can pick any Fairy Loot book that I want. I'm assuming. It's my channel, it's my rules. My Fairy Loot books are over here. I think I know exactly what I want to pick. And it's going to be Windweaver by Julie Johnson. This is a book that I want to read. I want to do another Fairy Loot reading vlog, so maybe because I pulled this now, we can do it this month together, read some more Fairy Loot books. But this is one that a lot of people have said that they think that I will like. It sounds like it's my kind of thing, and when I read the blurb, I was like, I really want to read this. This, I think, is giving me like, it should be like a 4-star read or above, hopefully. So this says, a prophecy reignited, a storm unleashed, a love that could shatter everything. In war-torn Anwyven, how do you say that? Anwyven, I don't want to say it. Fear of magic plagues every corner of the kingdom, and halflings like Rhea, right? I can't pronounce anything in this book. This is going to be embarrassing. Halflings are hunted and killed. When she is sentenced to death, her execution is interrupted by an unexpected savior, the formidable Commander Scythe. Feared by both his own men and his enemies as a merciless fighter on the battlefield, Scythe is far more terrifying than the hangman's noose. In the clutches of this new enemy, she finds herself fighting for her life, forced to travel to the Northlands with her fearsome captor. But she is no ordinary halfling. The strange birthmark on her chest and the wind she instinctively calls forth means she is a remnant, one of 4 souls fated to restore the balance of magic or die trying. But mastering the power she holds is only the beginning. A forbidden desire for the commander starts to burn fiercely while this tempest within her is waiting to be released. So we have the beautiful Fairy Loot edition of it, and we have the reversible dust jacket with the traditional published cover design on it. We have the naked hardcover, and then we have beautiful illustrated end pages. But on the back we've got 2 characters. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a love triangle, but I want to know who the other characters are. So that was easy. Book number 1 is The Windweaver. Book number 2. Continuing a series you're in the middle of. You know what we're going to do, guys? We're going to continue the Shadowhunters Mortal Instruments series. Now, like I said, I got the books in a box set. I had the first book already, but I didn't have any of the other books, and it was cheaper to buy a box set of it than buy them individually, so I did that. But the covers on the box set are different. They're like shiny, whereas the one that I have is matte, so it's not as nice quality, which is probably why it was more affordable. But it was cheaper than like getting the books on Vinted, so it was on sale, so I was like, I'm gonna get the box set. But I don't know how I feel about the shiny cheap covers. This is book number 2 in the Shadowhunters series, The Mortal Instruments, and that is our second prompt. So all it says is, haunted by her past, Clary is dragged deeper into New York City's terrifying underworld of demons and Shadowhunters. But can she control her feelings for a boy who can never be hers? Now, I read the first book in my most recent 24-hour readathon, and it's an urban fantasy, young adult, very, very YA, very 2010. But there are Shadowhunters in this world. It's set in New York City. There are Shadowhunters, and the Shadowhunters can't be seen by mortals, and they're like magical bounty hunters, kind of, I guess you could call them, and they're tasked with slaying demons. Yeah, and bad paranormal beings. But our main female character, Clary, can see the Shadowhunters, and she's not a Shadowhunter herself. So there's like a mystery and stuff that follows with that. And I just know this is such a bingeable book series. But the books are so short, guys. I'm gonna fly through this series, honestly, I think. I was told to read the first 3 books in the Mortal Instruments, then switch to the Infernal Devices, then go back to the Mortal Instruments and read the last 3 books in there. But everyone has said the last 3 books are not as good as everything else, and the Infernal Devices is significantly better. So I can't wait to read that. Prompt number 3. I'm definitely gonna have to fill up the TBR jar after today because we don't have that many prompts left. A book everyone keeps telling you to read. Do I even have a book on here that everyone keeps telling me to read? Oh, I do. This is so easy pulling these prompts. We're gonna read the Jad Air now. Everything I've seen about this book, I just know that I'm going to like it, and I have gone to pick it before and then didn't read it and ran out of time. So I think I'm ready now. It's just under 500 pages. I believe it was nominated for a Goodreads award in the past, and I think it was in the romantasy category, but I've been told that it's like fantasy with a subplot of romance, or like a minor romance. It's not like a romantasy. So the publishing world and fantasy and romantasy and the definitions of that and what everyone personally thinks about those 2 subgenres and how they're different or if they're the same confuse me. All I know is what was on the blurb of this book that says, an unmissable tale of shattered kingdoms, forbidden magic, and cunning royals unfolds in this Egyptian-inspired epic fantasy debut. I believe book 2 is coming out very soon. 10 years ago, the kingdom of Jad burned. Its magic was outlawed, its royal family murdered. At least that's what Sylvia wants people to believe. The heir of Jad escaped the massacre, and she intends to stay hidden, especially from the armies of Nizal, which continues to hunt her people. But a moment of anger changes everything. When Aaron, the Nizal heir, tracks a group of Jasadi rebels to her village, Sylvia accidentally reveals her magic and captures his attention. Now Sylvia's forced to make a deal with her greatest enemy, help him hunt the rebels in exchange for her life. A deadly game begins. Sylvia can't let Aaron discover her identity, even as hatred shifts into something more between the heirs. As the tides change around her, Sylvia will have to choose between the life she wants and the one she abandoned. This is just so up my street. So that's the 3rd book we're going to read. I'm very excited because I'm picking books that I actually really want to read, which is great because the prompts are just heading in that direction. Book number 4. Oh, we're flying through the TBR today. Oh, I see the word fantasy on it. An indie fantasy romance. Ooh. we have a book coming out in July that's an indie fantasy romance that I want to read. Guys, I can't believe I forgot about this one at the start of the video. It is City of Smoke and Brimstone by Kayla Edwards. It's the 4th book in the House of Devils series. I have heard that this is going to be the most emotional out of all the books so far, which is crazy because the other ones are emotional themselves. But book 1 follows our main female character Loren and Darien Castle, and they live in an urban fantasy world in a city. And Loren is just a human, a mere mortal, who is at the bottom of the food chain, as they typically are. One of her friends gets kidnapped on a night out that they're on, and it turns out that they were actually after Loren. She escaped, so she's trying to find her friend and hunt her friend down to get her back, but she's a human, you know, so she can't do that much. And it turns out that these people are actually after her, and they're still going after her. They're not going to stop until they have her, and she doesn't understand why. So she's trying to just survive, and she captures the attention of Darien Castle, our main male character, who is one of the most notorious dark slayers, basically like a magical bounty hunter. Very, very feared, very, very known. And when this hit is put out on Loren, he goes to find her, to get her, you know, to do his job, and then he realizes that she's just a human and something's not right here. So they team up together. He agrees to help her find her friend and solve this mystery, and he offers her protection. So the two of them are trying to figure out who's after her and why in this urban paranormal world where there are magical mythical beings and demons and vampires and all of that. It's very, very fun. I don't have a physical copy of that yet. I don't have that physically with me, but it is one that I will be adding. I don't even think I have an indie fantasy romance on my physical TBR, because my physical TBR is mainly trad published books at the moment. So even if we were to pick something else, it's nothing that I have physically. So we're going with City of Smoke and Brimstone for our indie fantasy romance book. Book number 5. Only 2 more left to pick. Okay, so the next prompt says a book that came out in the last 30 days. Now, I've got like art copies of books that will be coming out. I'm gonna have to look up some dates. Let's have a look at some dates. We've got Enigma that came out in April, apparently, according to Goodreads. A Curse Carved in Bone that came out in May. Tusk Love isn't out yet. The Lady of the Lake also came out in May. Everything is like over 30 days or just about to be published. Let's have a look on like the Kindle TBR, because we do have Echo 4. I think that's maybe what I'm gonna have to choose for this, because that came out, what, like 16th of June. I'm pretty good at reading books as they come out and are published. I'm good at keeping on top of that. So I think we're gonna have to go with Echo 4 for this, because that's kind of the only new book that's come out in the last 30 days I know of that I haven't already read. So it's the second book in the Sins of the Zodiac series, so the same authors of the Zodiac Academy series. This is a new spin-off series, sort of, well, not really spin-off, it's set in the same world, but it hasn't been confirmed how connected they are yet. I think it's a different time period, but also different parts of the world, but it's the same magic system. And the first book says, the plot description says, the dragons are lost, the elements are at war, enlisting isn't optional, and I'm falling for a man who wants me dead. I'm a wielder of hearts and a summoner of corruption, heir to nothing and born to a fool in the wrong damn month. But I'm also one of the only 2 fae in this divided land of Hellions who might be starting to see through the lies we've swallowed for so long. In the year we turned 21, conscripts from across the warring nations of air, fire, earth and water are sent to Neverkeep, the only place in the besieged continent where our magic can be awakened. But something is wrong inside Neverkeep, something which might extend far beyond the reaches of this desolate fortress. Within the gothic walls of this frigid castle in the snow, we're left to hold our own against the brutal fae from the opposing lands. The reapers are merciless, the royals are lying, the werewolves run rampant and vampires roam the wastelands in bloodthirsty covens. But even though death lurks in every shadow of the keep, it's the least of my worries. I'm delving into secrets the stars don't want me uncovering, making alliances with fae born to be my enemy, falling for a sinner while promising my heart to a different heathen, and somewhere amid it all, I'm supposed to win a war. I thought the only thing I had to do was survive my magical instruction. Turns out fate doesn't favor the wicked. So we have a war college, and like Zodiac Academy, there is elemental magic as well as like an astrological magic system. So the month you're born kind of determines what elemental magic power you have, and it's split up by that. and we're following two main female characters. Dual point of view, they have different powers from different parts of the world, completely different upbringing, they don't know each other. Two completely different stories of two main female characters, and we see how they both go to this war college and have different experiences, but how their stories also start to connect as there is mystery to uncover at this war college while there's also a war going on. So the ending of book one was crazy. Like, I love how the Twister sisters write the end of a book. It's always dramatic, there's always a plot twist, you know it's going to be something entertaining. So I'm very intrigued to read book two, and I also do have a physical copy of book two coming. It's on its way. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. So this is our 6th and final book. Okay, what is the prompt for this? The prompt for this one says a book talk book. How interesting. Okay, I have a lot of book talk books, so I can kind of read anything. I mean, The Bridge Kingdom is like an OG book talk book that people used to talk about a lot, and it's quite short. Laura said she thinks I'll be able to like just devour it very quickly. That makes me interested, but also I know it's a series, but there's sets of like duologies in the series. So the first 2 books follow some characters, then the next 2 books follow different characters, and that seems less intimidating in terms of like completing a series or picking a series up. So I could read this one, that's very popular. I guess I could also read A Curse Carved in Bone, which is the same author's newer Viking series. Book 2, A Touch of Darkness, First Time Caller, Collide. I've got some arcs. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with this one. We're having a heavy fantasy month this month, as every single book I've picked is a fantasy. We don't have a single romance or anything on it. So we're going with The Bridge Kingdom. This says, what if you fall in love with the one you were sent to destroy? Raised as a warrior, Princess Lara knows 2 things. King Aaron of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and that she must be the one to bring him to his knees. The Bridge Kingdom is the only route through a storm-ravaged world, and it uses its powers to deprive its enemies, including Lara's homeland. When she's sent to be King Arwen's bride, Lara will do whatever it takes to bring down the kingdom's defenses, even if it means seducing her new husband. Yet, as she learns more about the war to possess the bridge, Lara's feelings for Aaron transform from hostility to passion, and she faces a terrible dilemma: which kingdom to save and which to destroy. I'm feeling confident with this as a pick because I know if I love this, then there's a second book that I can read straight after. I can, you know, order a physical copy of it or read it on my Kindle, and then I can read those 2, and that will be working my way through a series as well as something on my physical TBR. We've got Neverkeep, which is book 2, up to date in a current series. We have City of Smoke and Brimstone, which is book 4, coming out up to date in a new series. We have the Jad Air, which I think book 1 is only out right now, but book 2 is coming out soon, so I can read that. We have the Wind Weaver, our Fairy Loot book, which is also a new release. And then we have Shadowhunters, which I can binge the series. So out of the 6 books we've picked, 1, 2, 3 of them, half of them are continuing series that I am in the middle of. And then the others are either new releases or parts of duologies that I can continue. So I feel very optimistic about our TBR. It is all fantasy and fantasy romance, which is also very exciting. Going back to my roots, my palette cleansers this month will be a bit more diverse. I am craving some other genres, and especially because I have a set TBR of fantasy books, I know I'm going to be reaching for books that aren't fantasy, or maybe some darker romances. Maybe we'll continue some of the Renaverse. We've got some sports romances on my physical TBR that I do really want to read, like Team Player and Collide, so I might pick them up. I also have like Icebreaker and Wildfire that I still haven't read. They're on my shelf because I read Daydream. So there's so many options of books that I can pick up. I've got some dystopian books downloaded on my Kindle, and I have a lot of indie books downloaded on my Kindle. So this feels good. I feel optimistic that I can get through all of the books we've chosen. They are anticipated releases that I really want to read. So I'm very excited for our month ahead. And they are all the books that we are going to be reading in the month of July. So as always, I'll try to read as many of these, all of them, in upcoming reading vlogs on my channel. And if there's any books in particular that you definitely want me to make sure that I include in a vlog, let me know in the comments below. If you aren't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.